What's new with Area Object Link version 5.0? After installation, a new toolbar will appear on the screen for AOL, showing a number of new commands which weren't there with the previous release, as well as under the add-ins ribbon on the Area Object Link palette. There's now a new drop-down arrow, again showing all these new commands, and basically they're clustered so that the AOL original dialog box interface is shown on top. Then there's the POL, or perimeter object link, which links perimeters instead of areas, and then the APL module following after that for area perimeter link, linking both area and perimeters, followed after that by AOT, which is the area object table module. This links all these values here from these AOL, POL, or and APL to a table. And then ACL, which is another module allowing you to change the attributes layer to match with the block. And lastly, AOL INF, which is the information window display at the very beginning. I'm going to start off by demonstrating what is new with the AOL dialog box, and you'll see that it's actually a little taller than before because I've added more commands, especially at the bottom. Now there's this cluster, and all the major AOL app windows have this cluster of buttons around the logo. The first of this is on the right side is the info button, which is what you've seen before, and basically the same as this AOL with a question mark in the middle. That module brings up the product app, which shows you the version history. So you now see a history of what's transpired with, again, what's been added with version 5 versus what's been added version 4.1, 4.0, etc. Also, there's an option for a toggle button to uncheck the toolbar, which some users want to be able to do to have, when there's a toolbar, to be able to make it disappear. So now it's been unchecked. But for this demo, I'm going to actually bring it back up. I'm going to use it in this demo. So the options there to turn off the toolbar or turn on toolbar in the AOL INF module. The other button that I've added at the bottom is called settings, and again, some of the users want to be able to save some of the default settings for the block labels so that you don't have to constantly change them. And in this case, now you have the option to save it to a particular layer, okay, or you add the layer here in the edit box if it doesn't exist in this current drawing. And again, that information will be saved, so it'll be used again and again for the next drawings. The font now could be, for these block attributes, now could be changed, so that instead of the Arial default font, you could choose any of the other fonts. All right, and or an AutoCAD SHX font. Right, that's also an option here. Or whatever's in the current drawing. These are the fonts that are being used in this particular drawing. So there's only 4. In this case, I'm going to leave it Arial. I could now also offer you the option to change the height. And these are the paper space values, heights. So 330 seconds, 530 seconds, 730 seconds, or 930 seconds. So these are the 4 options for imperial. In metric, there'll be other options. And then there's a width factor, and some of you have wanted to be able to choose and select and fix a width factor of something other than 0.85. So something wider like 1. So now I've offered a number of options to choose from here, or you define your own. All this information is saved under My Documents in your profile in an INI file. Okay, I'm going to cancel because I didn't change anything. So that's major changes at the bottom here. All right. And for the next set of changes, which applies both in the AOL, POL, and the APL dialog boxes, because they're all very similar. So I'm going to introduce you to now the POL, which brings up the POL labels looking like this. Again, looking very similar to the AOL labels. The major difference, of course, AOL measures the area of an object, whereas POL measures the perimeter of the object and links them. Right? So bring up the window. Again, it's very similar window to the AOL window with a cluster of same buttons at the bottom, and all the other sections are labeled. Options are very similar, except for the fact that you have like perimeter name instead of area name, or length unit instead of the area unit. And of course, instead of a square everything is now the linear unit. All right. So and one addition that someone wanted to be able to add is under precision, is to have it change to current precision. And then I'll show you the advantage of having that set. And I'm going to update all the blocks, in this case all the POL blocks, okay, only, so it doesn't impact the AOL blocks, to that current precision. Okay, and to demonstrate it, I'm going to use, instead of foot inch, I'm going to uncheck that and just leave it at foot, and which should give me a ability to set a using and see the decimal place show up. Okay, click OK. So you can see now this decimal place. Now where is that set? And that's in the units, AutoCAD's units command, and it's currently set at 1/32. So the number of decimal places over. So the advantage of doing current, one of the users want to be able to do, is so that at any time they could change it to a different precision, which impacts the entire drawing, which will obviously automatically impact this by doing a regen. Automatically all the PL blocks actually change throughout the entire location where they've been inserted. All right. And of course, I rather to have the ability to control that, so that I want to designate the PL blocks to have its own setting, different than the unit setting. So that option is still there to be able to set it to whatever is different and not current. And I'll change it all back. And I go, well, I actually want it back to foot inch. So what is this foot inch thing? So going back to POL set, just like AOL set, because the dialog box is already ran once to show the settings again for changes. POL set. The ability in the perimeter object link is, with typically architects, we like to see a foot inch option and not like the areas where it's a decimal option, right? 45 or 55.39 square feet. If this is square feet, makes kind of sense more, but not with architects and construction field where we want to actually see a foot inch for imperial units. So I've given the option to be able to check foot inch only when the feet option is chosen. Okay, because it doesn't make sense for an inch to show foot inch. It'll be all just in inches, right? But with feet, for imperial units, it can now show foot inch. And because of that's checked, there's no suffix and there's no rounding. And click OK. Now automatically goes back to the foot inch deal, right? And just to show that this actually works, I'm going to go ahead and select that object, and it shows 28 foot 6 1/4. And sure enough, that's what it is. Right? And the area is 58.85 square feet. And again, to see if this is really linked to that object, just like AOL, POL has the same command at the top for you to actually show. And this is exactly the object that we were looking at before. All right. Now for the next edition, new feature, I'm going to show under the APL command. Now the APL command is very similar to AOL and POL, except it combines the two together. So it's area and perimeter. And the area and perimeter will give you now the option on the one single dialog box to do all the changes of the area, formatting of the area result on the left side and the perimeter result on the right side. And then you have the option to select a different unit for the perimeter result on the right side versus the area result on the left side. So I could use square feet for area and just use not feet but inch for the perimeter. All right, and to demonstrate that, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the APL, show you all the labels I already have inserted in here. And instead of having the area shows square feet, I'm gonna have the area show square inches, and then change the perimeter to another unit, or maybe keeping the same unit. So again, going back to APL set and update all. Instead of showing square feet, I'm going to show square inches for the area. And for the perimeter, just to show that I could show a different number, I'm gonna keep that a feet, just like the way it is. But instead of showing a foot inch, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back to the ability to do inches on, or show me dot the decimal places, which is what this is for. Okay, click OK. So you can see right away that I'm showing square inch now for the area, and an inch for the perimeter, or whatever this is. What is that? So let's go back and say let's designate a suffix so I know what that is. So actually it's feet, not inch. Click OK. So now I see that feet. And again, you select this, even AutoCAD doesn't return that as in feet only, but obviously in 28.53 is probably 28 feet and 6¼ inches. So, but again, typically we like to see it in foot inch, so we go back, we change this back to square feet, and then we like to see foot inch and update all, and then now it's back to the way it was. All right. And now for the next demonstration of the added feature, and again using the APL, under the command section, and this occurs in APL, POL, AOL, there are two additional commands added. Draw. I want to use one to be able to start drawing an object instead of having to select an object, because it may not be there. So once now you're given the opportunity or the ability to draw an object using and it's going to use the P line option, an arc and so on. And then once you press enter or close that, it will complete the object and needs to be closed P line and insert automatically the block linking the polyline, in this case area and perimeter, automatically without you having to select it. So that was one of the features that one of the users wanted to be able to do. Another feature one of the users will be able to do is to, in this drawing, I'm going to demonstrate how that is done under again the APL select command. So these are already pre-drawn, so a lot of people users may have already pre-drawn objects they want to have automatically labeled. Okay, in this case I'm going to label them all with a number starting up to even 4 digits like this, 1000 for example. And the scale I'm going to choose, insert them all, just make it big enough for you to see a 3/32, and I'm going to go ahead and add a prefix, add a suffix. I'm going to choose it from the list here, and the prefix I'm going to make it custom, 1: just to be different, with no decimal places. I'm going to round this up, round it up to 10 units. And again, area can be different than the perimeter side, and I'm going to go ahead and change the add for the perimeter, keep it with the foot inch, and instead of the P I'm going to choose P:=, so P equals 2 for the prefix, and again decimal place precision over. And then once I click OK and all, it will automatically number them and link them to the area and perimeter. In this case, the way it sorts the object is based on the center of the object from left to right. So that's why this first and this is second, and top down. So this comes before this, so you're 1000, 1000, 1002, and so on. Okay. The next module I want to demonstrate is AOT, Area Object Table. Now let's go back to the original drawing. Now with all these, I'm going to erase this guy. With all these already inserted, I'm going to generate what I'm calling a table summarizing all these values. All right. I'm going to go into paper space here. So I could insert these tables in paper space and not just in model space. So the option is there. So bringing up this command here, AOT, I have the option to generate a table for the AOL, which is the red block labels, or POL, which is the green label objects, or the APL label, which is the blue. All right. So, but if the POLs or APLs don't exist, you don't have the option to select them. So this is flexible. The dialog box accommodates for that. There's also an option to select a total, so you could total all these areas at the bottom, and then even create an Excel table, so everything would go into Excel. And then now I could change the column, the summary table title, as well as the column titles. So these changes can be made and be saved in this current drawing. And then once I click OK, it's going to search through everywhere for these already created labels like AOL 1, which is down here. So you could see that 45 square feet is 45 square feet. It automatically links them all. 50.8 for AOL 2, right? AOL 1 and 2 is 89.9, and then again, the sort order is alphabetical, right? 1 and then numerical, 1, 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3, and so on. I'm going to go ahead and put this over here. So now the object table is inserted in paper space. So anytime if I were to make a change, let's say that I'm going to change one of the object's areas. And in this case, I know this 3 goes to here in model space, and I'm going to go ahead and change that, jump it out here. Let's make it bigger. So now this area has changed. Typically with fields, the way it updates is that you do a regen. Now because I have an object in paper space, if I would do a regen all, again, this 45 square feet should change now for AOL 3, right? So regen all, which regens both model space and paper space. And notice that AOL 3 has changed to 61.7 here in paper space in the table, as well as in model space. Okay, I'm going to put it back. And then do again, regen all. So again, changes both locations. So that feature is there because all these information, all these values are linked. You see the field in gray, okay, so they're not separate. They're dynamically linked together. Now the only issue here is that if you were to add or subtract, then you have to run the table command again separately. Or if you were to update, so I'm going to go to the AOL set, and I want to update all of the objects of AOL. Instead of having one decimal place, I'm going to show 2 decimal places. And instead of saying A colon, I'm going to say A equals to, and square feet, SQF, for example. Now if I do that using the update, or actually if I change any of the settings inside the settings button, it will both update the object label as well as the table to match. See, so they both are updated simultaneously. Alright, so I'm going to continue with the generating a table for now POL. And again, I'm going to edit that, change that out, and change the column, and so any changes that become permanent. And I want to demonstrate actually what happens, and it goes to Excel. Click OK. So now I have PLL, all right, and then the Excel actually looks like this. All right. So the information here in Excel is basically matching what is shown in AutoCAD, but in Excel. So that option is there to be able to do, and you can manipulate whatever you want once it's in Excel. All right, so I don't need it. Click close and don't save. All right, that was from the previous one. No, I'm generating all this and forgetting about it. So last thing, we generate the table for APL. Okay, this time I'm going to leave the labels alone, and I'm not going to generate an Excel table. Still show the totals at the bottom. And now notice that the length matches because the units are the same. Okay, if the units were different, then you have different results. So that's why you got to be careful. For example, I'm going to show you what happens in the for the area side. Area, I have a single decimal position for the area field for APL, whereas for the AOL there is two decimal precisions. So the obviously the total will be different. So 527.43 is versus 527.3. So the numbers change because of the decimal place. So based on the decimal places, you should use the same, otherwise you have different numbers at the bottom. Okay, now to change that, well, I want to change now these to match to those. So again, going back to the AOL, I could change the decimal precision to a single one and click OK, and right away you see the totals match. All right. For the next module, which will deviate a little bit, no longer are we dealing with fields of the area or the perimeter, but actually the layer of the attribute. So this is called ACL. Now, before I click on that command, if I select this attribute block, the line's a block and the numbers an attribute, it shows me that it's in a layer called A room num. But if I do a control click to get the attribute layer, what is that on? That's actually on a different layer called A-door. Although they both are using the same color, as you can see from here, they're both 40, so it's hard to tell. But at times you may end up having a block or attribute on a different layer. So the ACL command here or here will automatically change that to a single, so both be the single layer. So clicking on this block and then enter, and then it says what is the new layer you want. Do you want AL-LL? No, I want to select the block layer, so that the attribute layer will be the same layer as the block layer itself. So once I click OK, now control select, now they're both in A room num versus A, and you say, what, why, well, I'm going to undo that to go back to the way it was. So one's on door, the other one's on number, right? So if I were to say I want to turn the room number off, so I'm gonna go here and then turn off the room number. Wow, what happened? How come the room number is still on? That's because this actually is on not the room number block layer, but actually on the door layer. So that's the problem of having blocks and attributes on a different layer, and this could have been made by mistake because it's very easy to actually change the blocks layer by doing this, right? But the attribute layer has not changed until you click that and then change it that way, right? And of course it's easy when you have a single attribute, but it gets more difficult when you have multiple attributes like these. All right, so that concludes the new features of Area Object Link version 5.0.